We love being able to talk to you guys about marriages. By us talking about marriage, we in no way say that we have it all worked out. In fact, we can honestly tell you, we do not. We do not know what we're doing. And that's part of marriage, and that's the good thing. What we wanted to share with you guys tonight is a conversation that doesn't happen very often, and very little is talked about this, and it's called parallel living. And parallel living is a concept that we don't realize we kind of walk into in our marriages without really realizing what we're doing. And so we thought tonight, by going through this, we were going to do it through shapes. We're just going to explain the whole concept to you through shapes. So we're going to start with our first shape. It looks like this. Here we go. Two parallel lines together. Basically, parallel living is like this. It's two roommates living together, trying to manage a house. Now, if you're starting to make a little more sense now, that's basically what happens is that there's a emotional and relational drift taking place, but the house is immaculate. Our kids get exactly where they need to go. The kids are getting A's. People go to your house all the time and they're like, oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful, right? How do you do it all, right? But at the same time, something feels a little hollow and your days feel a little empty sometimes. Basically, some emotional side effects are that we feel loneliness and maybe even unfulfilled, even though the house is well managed. We're operating our marriage somehow as two roommates together managing house. Here's a sign that might be a signal to you that you might be living in some type of parallel living. That the time spent together between the two of us, right? The time spent together is focused on logistics, and usually that's what takes up the most of your conversations. All right, you're going to get the kids at 9, right? I'm going to take them over here. You're going to get groceries tomorrow. Yes, I'm going to do that. Can you make sure to fill up the tanks in the car by this time? Yes. Logistics, by the way, aren't bad. Logistics do need to happen. But if the majority of your conversation in the span of a week is just logistics, that might be a sign that parallel living is taking place within your home. What it is you're running two independent kingdoms at the same time instead of being under one united kingdom in a marriage. You have two different goals, two different directions that you're going. Sometimes our careers do this, where it's like, this is my goal, this is who I am, my identity. I'm a pastor. That's a big thing for me. I'm focused on the church. That's a big part of my life. Michelle, as of recently, she was a vice principal, and the school was a big part of her life. And it would be easy, and I'm going to be the first to admit, it was really easy at different times for us to be in parallel living where we have two different kingdoms. We got the school, and then we got the church, and we're trying to make both of those things happen at the same time. And we run in together about 7 o'clock at night, and we go, make sure you take care of this tomorrow? Yep, and I'll make sure the kids are at this place tomorrow. So we've done parallel living from time to time. This doesn't happen, by the way, because you fall out of love, that there's relational strife, the drifting of emotional connection. It doesn't mean because I just don't love her anymore. That's not necessarily why parallel living takes place. It happens through different various things. One in particular is just survival. There's so much going on, so much happening, there's so much demand on your life that survival mode is the best you can do. Listen, we're just going to have to divide and conquer here. This is how we're going to have to solve all the different things we have going on. The other one is just coping. Because there's so much going on, or because maybe there's conflict that's happened, or, this is my favorite, the family is so large and the demand. And I'm not talking about you had too many kids. I'm talking about extended family that's asking so much of you. There's just a lot of pressure on you, and so you're just coping. You're just trying to figure out this. We're just trying to figure it out, and then I just found these things. But the other thing that often why you're parallel living is because you created a habit at some point. And the habit just continued. And you didn't think about the habit, you just started doing it. And then it became habitual. That's just how the things are done. And you never really thought about it. So parallel living doesn't have to be an intentional choice made by both of you. However, because it lacks intentionality in your marriage, because of maybe not spending enough time being intentional, maintaining a healthy marriage, that's why parallel living takes place. Let's talk about science. I love some science. All right? We got short-term and long-term. This is how our brains operate. These are the neurotransmitters that are taking place that are happening. You both have motives and rewards that happen. Their circuits go straight to your brain and reward you with these chemicals that are naturally produced in your body. The first one, short-term, you have this dopamine burst that takes place. And it's rewarded every time that you go into this time of when you have this purpose for this fresh, new, exciting thing, even taking a risk, per se. Gosh, asking and talking to Michelle at one point was quite tough and very risky. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't. Let me tell you. I had no dopamine rush the day that we met. We met at a party, Michelle and I. I was not invited to this party. Neither was Michelle. That was the risk I took that night, was going to a party with my friend to a place where it was this girl is like a going away party. It was a really big party. He's like, come with this. Dopamine rush. Okay, I'll do it. Let's go. And that was it for the evening. Too much dopamine. That was enough. Met Michelle, entered in some weird conversation about like, should Bibles be electronic? I don't know how I feel about this, but that should show you how old we are, by the way. Okay. So we're there talking, and we're meeting each other, and it's like, you're really nice. That's great. Michelle, she got her dopamine rush, and I'll tell her side of the story, when she decided to reach out to me. And she called me up and was like, hey, would you like to go on a date sometime? So now you know what kind of man I am. Taking risks. When you have a new relationship, right? When you take these risks together, you meet each other for the first time. But my big risk with Michelle is while we were dating at one point, went to a concert. That enough was a dopamine rush for me. But then at some point we were trying to leave, and it was a mass crowd. And so I extended my hand out, and she grabbed it. And then that's a connection spark. We just talked about it this year, that we both remember that moment. It's like a huge memory for our marriage, right? Dopamine in that moment. But it turned into something else, and that's the long term. So the short term is the honeymoon phase. If you're in a honeymoon, you just got married recently, you're getting a lot of dopamine. There's a lot of honeymoon phase happening. It's why everyone's like, oh my gosh, get a room, guys. Like, get over yourselves, right? Because you're infatuated with each other so much because you're being rewarded constantly by your brain saying, this is good, this is great. Okay, long term though, dopamine is not sustainable. After a while, it goes away. Okay, and this is why many people say to each other, like, honey, we need to add spice back into our relationship. Well, that's not what necessarily needs to happen, but I understand what you mean. We need to focus on making deeper relational connections, and especially attachments with each other. Okay, and this is what changes for us. Is no longer dopamine is not enough. Now it's oxytocin, and now when we get oxytocin, that level can be rewarded, but it's rewarded only through commitments, long-term things. When our brain triggers that, just like, you are making a long-term goal, so I'll reward you with this chemical experience. Believe it or not, that's crazy to think about it. So like, for example, the dopamine rush of grabbing Michelle's hand, here she comes, perfect, great, okay. Now, this was a dopamine rush in the moment, but like 17 years later, the fact that we can talk about that moment and it has a huge attachment to it, like a connection about this is how we connected and became almost one, that's an oxytocin. And now we're like, experiencing this attachment and commitment with each other, and we're rewarded even 17 years later after something that took place that far away, okay? By the way, this is evidence that God designed us for long-term relationships. Tonight we're going to share a lot of biblical knowledge with you. I promise I'm not going to just open up my Bible and start preaching from there, but I'm going to tell you the fruit of what we've learned through a relationship with Jesus in the Bible that is definitely rewarded our marriage. Right? It's better than dopamine, better than oxytocin, but the fact that God uses both of those things and thus proves long-term relationships is the key, I can tell you that we just want to share the fruit that we have and hopefully help you with a healthy marriage, okay? Sometimes, though, if you're feeling like a loss of connection, parallel living does not trigger oxytocin, just so you understand. Parallel living is where oxytocin isn't working, and so what ends up happening is you're searching for dopamine. You're looking for results quickly, quick results. So it creates a sense of loneliness, unfulfillment, and you crave short-term gratification, okay? An example of this is chasing after validation. Validation is important in a relationship, to be validated and seen by each other. But a lot of times when we are only looking for dopamine rushes, we'll search for validation elsewhere. Okay, so might go for our kids. Kids are doing well in school, kids notice us, kids are excited, happy, the life they're having, and that's a dopamine rush that's hitting us. Or maybe it's at work with things that you have going on in a career, achievements you're making outside the home, those things are dopamine rushes, and you're looking for those things as well. That's why we constantly look for other people like, yeah, but am I doing a good job? Yeah, but do you like me? Right? Never once asking our spouse whether or not we like each other or not. Okay? I'll let Michelle explain the next one.
So back to our shapes and geometry and all that fun stuff. So here's the thing. The answer is not more infatuation with each other, right? Because we're not looking for that quick dopamine rush. Although it might feel good in the moment, we really are looking for a deeper connection, right? That's going to be long-lasting in our marriage. So we often look at the circle, right, as a really great visual for marriage, and it is. It definitely is, but that's more for when we're thinking about it as a commitment in marriage, right? When we're truly committed to each other, we know that marriage is never ending. It's a forever covenant that we make with each other. So in that way, yes, circle can be a really great visual for marriage. However, when we're talking about parallel living, I want you to think about it this way. When you have two people coming together, because there's two of us, trying to make a circle, it's not going to work very well, right? We're bending together. If you think of, we're going to use spaghetti as an example. We're trying to bend together spaghetti. After a while, it's not going to work as well. Because here's what happens. We become actually too infatuated with each other, and we start to ignore the outside world. And I know this is like kind of a weird thing to think about, but you start to realize you're just each other. What about the outside world? There's an outside world out there, right? So we start ignoring actually the true purpose of marriage and what God calls for us to have in marriage. We find ourselves isolating from like our family, our friends, all these people we were spending time with, our community, because we're only focused, only is a key word, only focused spending on time with each other and not others. And sometimes we see this, it often happens at the very beginning of relationships or marriages, right, in that honeymoon phase. But here's the thing to remember, even though this might naturally happen at that beginning phase, we can't stay there, right? We can't be fully wrapped up in each other only. We're going to completely miss the purpose of marriage and what God calls it to be. So staying in this circle, we also can find ourselves creating a really low support environment for our kids if we have kids, right? If we truly are too, in love with each other or fixated on each other, are we really focused on, well, we have our kids too. Are we giving them what they need? That's just a little example. So I wanted to be clear, yes, spending time with each other is needed and it's important. But if we stay in this circle only with each other, are we thinking about the others? Are we thinking about the outside world? We need others, right? We need to be able to do that. That's what God calls us to do. So, again, back to a biblical understanding of marriage. Your marriage is meant to be seen and serve. So we chose these two words, seen and serve, because it's really important that we are that visible display, right, of Christ in the church to others. That means we go out, right? We're not just the two of us. We go out. We get to be that display of our marriage. And it should also be driving towards something. Our marriage has a mission, right? And part of that mission is to serve, right? To serve for the glory of God. So it's really important that we're thinking that way too. So Rick's going to come up and explain the next visual here.
All right, so your first thought was like, yeah, give more attention to our kids. That's great. That's what we're going to do as soon as we get home. Okay, that's what this looks like. Don't do this. I know this is kind of weird, but this is two parties coming together for a purpose outside of marriage. It's looking like this. We get really excited, like we're going to serve someone else. We're not going to be super infatuated with ourselves. We've got kids. We're going to focus in on them, okay? This is serving, but no marriage is being seen, right? This is two partners, two roommates with a goal now. And the goal is aimed in one particular place, right? This is why sometimes you hear marriages like, let's just have a kid. That'll fix everything. Just do it. That's great. We're having trouble. Let's just have another kid. I think that's good. By the way, that's not what Michelle and I did. We just had one after like 11 years. That's called an accident, okay? A surprise, sorry. Don't tell Hezekiah I said that out loud. It's a surprise. Okay. Oh, it's on video. Great. What happens when the kids leave the nest? Let's ask that question. If this is what our marriage looks like, two people coming together for a singular purpose, goal, kids, what happens when the kids leave the nest? What's left? Nothing. No goal, right? This is actually the highest divorce rate that we see is when the kids leave, and it's just the two of you. And the reason why is because you've been so focused on serving a goal without a marriage being seen that what ends up happening is there's no marriage left once the kids are gone. Divorce rate skyrockets from there. What it actually does is by serving without having a marriage, being roommates together with a goal, bitterness comes in. Bitterness comes into play, and there's a wake that happens within that. It's basically what you have is two different kingdoms, but they just signed a treaty together. We're going to work together, okay? There's no unified, united kingdom, one kingdom in this form, okay? And what happens in this particular case, because there's bitterness, our kids become the target of our therapy sessions. Therapists are really what we call our kids. Listen, let me tell you how I'm feeling about my emotions right now. Your father's not around. I can't tell him about these things. Or I don't want to tell him how I feel about this. Or I don't want to tell her so we tell our kids. We end up telling them about things that they should not know this stuff. Or the worst is the bitterness slips out. Now we start ridiculing our other half. We start telling them things. Do not badmouth each other to your children, okay? Do not tell your children, well, your father, or your mother, it's her. And I tell you, my favorite one is when I'm in a car ride and I slip because my kids, I forget that they're in the back seat. So I think I'm by myself, and then I'm just like, ugh, Michelle, I can't believe. And then my kids immediately be like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, oh, I forgot. They're all back there. So I had to pull the car over. I have to stop. Listen, what you heard is me being frustrated, but I love your mother, and I shouldn't talk like that. And I plan on, when I get home, apologizing to her and telling her exactly what I did. Do not badmouth each other to your children. So, how do we do this? If it's not a goal that we're going to aim at, where we tilt, like let's focus on something in the future, how are we going to fix parallel living? Well, Michelle's going to do what's called a spaghetti test. You mentioned it earlier. Can I get the pod leads to come up and grab some spaghetti for your pods? Okay, you're going to need 2 strands for each couple. Rush up now. Don't be shy. It's just spaghetti. It's gluten-free. Good. It is
gluten-free. Yeah. Only because we only have gluten-free in our house, So we happen to have gluten-free spaghetti.
Wow, we'll see if that works out. Come back if you need.
Yeah, maybe not. But.
Who needs more? No? Okay, great.
Yeah.
What was that? Gluten-free spaghetti. You guys brought the hot water, though, right? Never got the... No? Okay.
You're all going to make your own?
By the way, yes, real quickly, this is the circle thing, so you guys understand that. Try to form a circle, two together. It should be obvious, right? You can't do that.
It doesn't really work with uncooked spaghetti. Even with cooked spaghetti, it's not a great circle, guys.
Okay, got the 2?
Okay, so we got 2. So parallel living, right? We're just kind of going by each other, right? We're not together. We're not one. Okay, so now we're going to have one on top of the other, like this. Now I'm not going to be able to do this part. So you guys, okay, you'll be out. Yeah, there we go. That makes way more sense. Okay, so we're going to try to have the top strand bend towards the other without the bottom one moving.
It'll look a little something like this, okay?
That's your goal. Can you do that with the spaghetti? Without it breaking. It's broken. It's already broken.
You need another strand, David? How'd that work out?
Got it back up. Well, most likely it's going to break.
I love the men. I'll problem solve this, no problem. Look at that. My hand.
It's not broken. It's still trying to get in line with this one, right? Because our goal is we're really trying to become one, right? So we kind of call this the breaking point, right? It is broken. trying.
You're doing great, Michelle.
Spaghetti is fun. You guys are my students. You're good. Okay, so we call this the breaking point. Like, truly, that one strand was trying really hard to get in line with the other one. And so bending, trying to, and it breaks, right? It's the breaking point that one person has reached towards the other one. So this often looks like there is one person that might recognize there's parallel living happening, and they're starting to feel loneliness. They're starting to feel unfulfilled. But instead of looking for that outside validation, or maybe they've even already tried that, they really, truly are trying to look for that in their spouse, their partner, their other person. And so they're trying lots of different things, right? They're trying to connect. Maybe they've planned a vacation for the two of you to go on. Maybe they're like, we're going to go on a date. Or they've bought a gift for you. Or
it can just be as simple as a back rub, too.
Yeah.
But it's dinner time.
This is not the right time, right? Not why I'm talking either.
Maybe you're trying to talk to everybody.
Yeah, thanks, honey. But they're trying, right? The other person, right, is really trying. But they're not getting a response from the other person, or not the response they're really hoping for. And parallel living is still happening. And here's the thing, it's not acknowledged, right? Which leaves both of them just stuck, right? And the thing that needs to happen is it needs to be said out loud. That's the thing that's keeping them stuck. It's not being said out loud that, hey, we are in this parallel living cycle right now. The other person knows also that there are things that might need to be reconciled first, things that need to be talked through or even worked out. So they need to be able to acknowledge that too if that's happening. So receiving a gift or even going on a date, it feels like the other person in the end is actually just ignoring that. It's like, but you're not really bringing up what's really going on here, right? You're just kind of ignoring that, and you're going on with our relationship instead of calling it out and saying, we have things we need to reconcile or work through. So to escape this, both have to come together. And here's the thing with reconciling. You have to think about this for the past and the present and the future, right? Okay, yep, so just like that. So that way we can come together, because if that's not all happening, right, we're gonna be stuck in that breaking point again. But our goal is to be one like this, as Rick is showing, right? Is to come together.
So how do we do it?
So we're gonna say it out loud. And this can be hard, because this can come across like kind of like blaming, but you can say it in a very loving way. And if it's something you prior, talked about, like, hey, this is how we're going to call this out in our marriage, when it's happening, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I know what he's talking about. So if it could sound like, I think we've been in a cycle of parallel living. Or it could sound like, I feel like we are drifting in two different kingdoms, right? We're called to be that unified kingdom. But now I feel like we're just drifting apart. We're living in two separate worlds right now. So say it out loud is super key.
Yeah. Okay. What is this really? If this isn't parallel living, what is this? This is missional living. Missional living has a past it's drawing from, it has a present, and it has a future. It's going somewhere. Marriage has a purpose. Right? The marriage is not, we were dating, now we got married, now what? I don't know, maybe a house, now a dog, now a fence, right? Now kids, right? After all that, now kids, and a boat. Retirement. This is missional living, is what it's called. Missional living is a united kingdom. It has one purpose, one goal into the future. Not, we're starting a church and we're also a vice president or vice principal of a school. There's one united purpose, okay? In the Bible, it talks about that two become one flesh. One flesh means it's no longer like two strands trying to come together. It's just one. We've become one. And what the marriage that's really happening in the marriage is that you have a bride, two people becoming one, becoming the bride for the groom who is Jesus Christ. And in a relationship where we let Christ lead, we become much more focused on being missional. And we have a singular mission that then is led by Christ. So marriage is called towards mission. It's called to be missional, which means that there are roles. Whenever there's a mission, right? Men, you can think of Black Ops now. Black Ops, you don't just have like a whole team, and it's like, everybody do what they want. Everyone has a role. Everyone has responsibilities, and they're carrying out those responsibilities. Ladies, I don't really know a good example for you guys, except for on those baking shows that Michelle loves to watch all the time, right? When there's a team, I got to do this, and you're going to do this. We get this. Everyone has a role and a responsibility in order to make that deadline so that cake comes out great. Okay? The aim, though, and this is the key, whatever that aim is, that's the real question. Okay? I don't know for your marriage what your real aim is. I can tell you what for my wife and I, what ours is. But in the end, what I should tell you, whatever that aim is, it should be something that glorifies God. It's something that respects what marriage was created for, and it blossoms and blooms in that sense. But the truth is, in the Bible, it talks about that you've been given dominion. That you have been given some type of responsibility here on earth. And in that dominion, it's supposed to exhibit fruit. And I know in that passage, everyone talks, that means have a lot of kids. Yes, and fruit is also the work of God. To see the effect of God on your life, that fruit to happen, okay? So to have dominion or go somewhere and lead and have a purpose and drive towards a mission is not just, let's have kids, that's what marriage is all about. Sometimes when people can't have children, this is really what that gets them. They struggle when they have that medical issue. And I can tell you that it's not just that kind of fruit. It's a fruit that is showing off God, showing his presence with us. Let's look at this, for example. Marriage like this. Within the marriage needs to have a purpose of being to see each other. I see you, sweetie. To serve each other as well, okay? And then outside the marriage, two things need to be happening. One, you need to see the needs out there and bring the marriage out there and serve others, as well as be seen as a marriage serving others. If you're serving other people, but it's just, two kingdoms, people don't see that marriage. Especially when we start talking about our children. And you say, well, I'm going to serve my children. That's outside my marriage. Right, but they need to see that you're married, not just that they're part of the same family. The mission for our marriage is this, and I encourage this to be your mission as well. And I think it's what the mission that Jesus lays out in the Bible is the purpose of marriage. It's to be the visual display of Christ and the church. This is Ephesians 5. And both within the marriage and outside the marriage, we're supposed to be a visual display. We're supposed to show what grace and mercy looks like and what it looks like to have Christ as the lead. And that happens through love and respect, and it happens through also serving each other. That's the mission. A vision, however, like what that might look like within your marriage, might look completely different from our marriage. We'll have the same mission, but our visions of how we'll execute that might look completely different. But as long as the aim goal of that is to glorify God, we're in the good. So you need to be able to separate out the two. You have to have a mission, and then, how are we going to execute that mission? What's the vision? What's that going to look like? And a vision sometimes needs to be altered or needs to be talked about, combed and corrected. So it's something that you have to work with over a lifetime. So mission is not grounded by infatuation, but actually intimacy, because that's literally what Christ is offering the church or God's people, the people that he loves. Okay, so it's commitment, it's a calling, but it's also vulnerability. It's the ability to come to each other and be vulnerable with each other. And that's what we're doing with Christ. Scripture says that he turns our heart from stone into a heart of flesh, makes us weak. And in a marriage, that's exactly how I have to be weak, not only strong for my wife, but weak for my wife. I have to be vulnerable with her in order for our marriage to be healthy. So the mission of your marriage, so we're clear, is not a career and a job and money to provide a safe future. That's not the mission. It's not security, that we're going to be okay, right? That's not the mission. And including this is also family is not the mission. And I know for some of you right now, you're like, okay, but kids are not the mission. Because once they're gone, then what? Right? Mission over? Is that the end? Okay? Your mission impacts these things. These things are important, but they're impacted by your mission. And hopefully, these things that I just mentioned are heavily involved in your vision of how you're going to carry out that mission. Okay? But here, we'll talk about the family for a second and explain this.
So this is just a really important thing to note, okay? So yes, family is not the goal, but it is the fruit. So think of it that way. It's not the goal, right, in your marriage, when we're talking about marriage and having that visible display of Christ in the church. Family is actually not the goal, but it is the fruit, right? We know that this is the result of the mission that God has given us, and that is a beautiful thing, right? And here's the thing. You need a healthy marriage to have a healthy family, right? It's making it a priority, your marriage a priority, so that you can lead your family, right? You can have a healthy marriage to lead a healthy family.
I think the important thing is to recognize that your marriage and your family are two different things, okay? You got married, soon you had kids. Now we don't have a marriage anymore. Now we have a family. No, you have to have a marriage in order to lead that family. It's crucial. So if you don't take care of the marriage, I got news for you. That family's not going to last very long, okay? So let's put this into practice a little bit. And Michelle thought I was really goofy, but I was like, let's do some scenarios. We'll act things out for them. She's like, okay, drama. All right. But I'll just explain some things. So I thought about seen and serve. How are you doing seen and serve within your marriage? And then how are you doing seen and serve outside of your marriage, okay? For us, seen is gotten difficult sometimes for us in this last year. Like I said, church planting, here's what we discovered. We church planted and started this church 5 years ago. Gosh, that's hard. That's really hard. And actually what we noticed was we don't have a lot of time. Our time is pulled all over the place. And what we learned real quickly is that the church wasn't our mission, but it was part of our vision. And so us being successful in leading a church was not just my goal as being a pastor of the church, but was Michelle's goal as well. And she played a role in that, in making sure to take care of the family, but also then to take care of our marriage. And that I had to do the same. And so what we learned very quickly is that we were always searching for was quantity time. And I don't know if you ever have heard different things. There's like, people do marketing ideas like how to make sure your marriage stays healthy, like the 7-7-7 rule. In 7 days, make a date night. In 7 weeks, do a weekend. In 7 months, go out on a vacation together. That's cool. We learned very quickly, we don't have the money for that. And we just realized there's no time to do that. There's no time. We don't have that. And so what we realized is as we were searching for time, that was a dopamine rush for us. It was just the quick fix of like, we need more quantity. This needs to be longer. And we weren't enjoying the time that we had. And so what we ended up doing is we realized it's quality over quantity for us. And so we would just, whatever moment we got, that's our moment. And one of the biggest things that we realized, and that what marriages need the most, is to look at each other in their eyes. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Do you know how many times you walk past your spouse in the house? You saw them, but did you see them? Do you know what I'm talking about? Right? And ask yourself in that question, what was the color of their eyes? I don't know. What were they wearing? I don't know. Do they look presentable or not? But you don't know. You were in the kitchen. They passed by. You saw them. And so realizing that we can stop and just look at each other and tell each other we've been seen. But also to say that out loud. I see you. I know you had a rough day today. And so we started this thing, and we do this thing in our family, and it's really cool. We just play a song, and we start dancing. Oh, I realize the camera's still running. Sorry, Micah. Yeah. So when we just start dancing. Our kids, by the way, aren't there. We don't tell them, like, Mommy and Daddy need 3 minutes alone. We just need some quality time. We just let them be there. Now, our kids will tell you to your face, yuck, my parents, ugh. Right? When we like come together and see each other in our eyes, right? But I see them. They love it. Why? Because they see a healthy marriage leading their family, and it's crucial. So we get out our favorite album. It's called The Hunts, by the way, if you want to write it down. Darling, Oh Darling is the name of the album, and we'll actually play this song, or just start whatever. It doesn't matter what song it is. Let's see if it starts. Well, no. Did it turn off? It turned off over time. Can't believe it. Hold on a second. There we go. Well, it's going to happen more instantly and was going to be cool, but forget it. All right, here we go. Here we go. So she'll be in the kitchen, and then this song will just start. We have only vinyl in our house, by the way. So if you stomp too loud, the song gets ruined, just so you know. There you go. She knows the song starts. And so we'll start against like this. And then our kids run around us, they grab our legs. That's fine. So here's what we invite you guys to do. Stand up, take a moment, and dance with us. Look at each other in your eyes.
Also telling him, so this is Noel's record player. We have a very old one downstairs that does not go anywhere.
You can't move it.
You can't move it. It's permanently there. But this is Noel's. It's very portable, very new. And she walks in when she got here tonight, and she's like, "Mom, what are you doing with my record player?" And I was like, "Well, we're using it tonight. Is that okay?" She's like, "But you didn't bring my music." "Why didn't you bring my music? My music's the best." I was like, "No, because we brought mommy and daddy's music." And immediately she just goes, "Ah, gross." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's about right."
They do that, but the truth is that we know. We know that they love it. Yeah, we know that they love it. See, and so being seen is a crucial point. That's only 3 minutes. It's only 3 minutes. And we sit there with stress. I got a lot of things to do. You'll be surprised how much quality time you can have in 3 minutes, okay? Okay, so quality over quantity. Last thing is serve together. Don't just serve and look, divide and conquer is easy sometimes, but serve together. Find ways within your marriage that we're serving at the same time together. That could look like inside the church doing things, but it really honestly does not have to be programmed. What I mean is find ways to serve other people, your neighbors, your kids, to your community, to your friend groups, whatever. Just serve somebody, but do it together. You will find that bond, but then talk about it. So lead with purpose and direction. Do not let life dictate what happens, okay? But be intentional rather than reactive. There's a lot of things life throws at you, okay, but tell them or tell life, we're not going to respond like this. We're going to stick the course, okay? And then lastly, this is also very crucially important, pray together. I literally can't stress how much prayer solves so many things because you're surrendering up all the problems over to God and you're trusting Him to carry those things, but you're doing it together and you know that you're on the same page. So, reconcile the past, the present, and the future. Talk about those things together. Become one flesh like you're supposed to be, one united kingdom, and in prayer, go somewhere with your marriage. Crucial.